Hi, I'm Rob King. I'm the programmer of Lenfest Kids, and here are my co-programmers, Samantha, Sullivan. They're twins. Thanks for waving, Sully. It's December, and that brings a lot of holidays to different people. Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas, and holidays often mean presents at this time of year, and presents often mean toys. So we're going to be exploring our year's theme of repair this month by looking at a number of films that involve broken toys that need to be fixed, or toys that have lost their place and need to find it. We're going to be posting links for films like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Hugo, a film that tells the story of the filmmaker George Méliès, who we talked about last month, and finally Toy Story. Now, Sam, question. What kind of films do we most often see when all three of us, or the whole family rather, goes to the movies?
We usually see kids' animation films.
That's right, we usually see kids' animated films. There are not a lot of live-action family films made these days. It seems that it's always animation. And so a question for you then, Sully. What are the different ways in which you can make an animated film? Or how do people make animated films now?
They use computers.
They do it on the computer. But did they always do it on computers?
No, they used to draw images onto the tape by hand.
Yes, they used to use hand-drawn techniques. Actually, the first feature-length film using hand-drawn animation was Snow White, the Disney film from 1937. And the first animated feature using computer animation, however, was Toy Story in 1995. That's almost 60 years after Snow White. And there have been 4 Toy Story films, including Toy Story 4, obviously, which came out last year. So, today I want to tell you the story about how Toy Story came to be, the first feature film using computer animation all the way through. So, one final question for both of you. This one this one will stump you. What is the connection between Star Wars and Toy Story?
They both use special effects.
They both use special effects. I guess that's true. That's very true.
Well, they both have kind of like fictional technology.
They have fictional technologies. That's an interesting one. Okay, let me set you straight though and give you the answer that I was looking for. Who's the filmmaker that made Star Wars?
George Lucas.
George Lucas, right. George Lucas had a special company that he set up for special effects to help him make Star Wars, and that company was called Industrial Light and Magic. Now, Star Wars was a very successful film, and it made George Lucas a lot of money. So he decided to launch a computer division as part of Industrial Light and Magic, as part of the same company. And the computer division began to explore possible uses of computers in filmmaking. And the computer division began to make some of the most important advances in the use of computer-generated imagery in films. And let's have a look at some of the early successful uses of CGI that the computer division helped to make. Let's start here. Here's a famous effect from Star Trek II. It's the Genesis effect that the computer division created.
Stage 3 will involve the process on a planetary scale. It is our intention to introduce the Genesis device into a pre-selected area of a lifeless space body, a moon or other dead form. The device is delivered, instantaneously causing what we call the Genesis effect. Matter is reorganized with life-generating results. Instead of a dead moon, a living, breathing planet capable of sustaining whatever life forms we see.
And that was in 1982. Pretty impressive, right? 38 years ago. The very next year, in 1983, the computer division came up with this image. It's called The Road to Point Reyes. And do you know that was made on a computer?
No.
That's not a photo. That's a computer-generated image. At the point that was made in 1983, this was the highest resolution image that had ever been made, which is why it looks almost like a photo. Now, two very important people came to the computer division. One of these was a guy called Ed Catmull, and another was John Lasseter, and he was a graduate of CalArts. And together they began to work on 3D computer animated imagery, most notably in a little film that they made in 1984 called The Adventures of Andre and Wally B. It was never a film that was meant to be commercially released, but actually it's on Disney Plus if you have it, so you can look at a little bit of animation history. Let me play a little bit of that for you now anyway, so you can see what it looks like. So what did you think of that film?
That was pretty good.
I mean, it almost kind of looks like Toy Story at that point. I mean, you could see it's getting there, right? And that film was actually a really important one in sparking interest in computer animation, because it demonstrated really that character animation done on a computer could be just as good and just as convincing as the traditional hand-drawn style associated with Disney at that time. Now, let me pull all the threads of this discussion together. In order to make these effects, the team at the computer division had created a special computer, and they called it the Picture Maker. But Picture Maker is a bit of a mouthful, so they started to shorten it and refer to it informally as the Pixar. But then eventually they decided on a new name for their computer. Can you think of what it was? It sounds a little bit like Pixar, but not quite.
Pixar.
Pixar. The Pixar image computer. Now, eventually, the computer division splits off from George Lucas and becomes its own company. And they just decided, well, what are we going to call ourselves? Let's just name ourselves after our own computer. So they call themselves Pixar, which gives us the first ever feature-length computer-generated animated film, Toy Story, directed by the same guy that did The Adventures of Andre and Wally B. That's John Lasseter, and which has gone on to make many further movies. Okay, so one final question for both of you. I want to see your answers. What is your favorite Pixar film?
Inside Out.
Inside Out.
Incredibles.
Inside Out and Incredibles. Well, I like both of them. So that's it from us for this month. Happy holidays. I hope you enjoy the movies. Check out the Get Creative section to find out how you can make films just like George Méliès using stop tricks. And we'll see you in January. Happy holidays. Bye.
Bye.